One to the Merowitz Center program today with Larry. He's going to tell us all about how to choose a new computer. Larry was born and raised here in St. Louis and spent most of his career in Sarasota, Florida. Early on, computers became a hobby as well as a means by which he could be more productive. He spent 31 years in Sarasota. He retired early and after moving to Palmetto, Florida, worked full-time for Computer Advantage, a premier partner Apple reseller. He worked in sales and technology, sales and teaching training, not technology, not a hardware technician. He stayed there for 5 years and then moved back to St. Louis, where one daughter lives and his son lives in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Since returning with his wife of 45 years, he spent the last few years as a substitute teacher in local private school and also a volunteer computer teacher for NORC, Oasis, and the Merowitz Center. So welcome to Larry.
Awesome. And to find why.
Okay, so I should go ahead and jump in?
Yes, you can go ahead and jump in. Thank you so much for being here today, Larry. We really appreciate it.
It is, when I say it's fun to be here, that's a very weird expression, isn't it? Whereas here, that we're all together. What I'm going to do, I've put together a slide presentation, so I'm going to talk over my slides. But as I mentioned a moment ago, if I need to answer some questions, I can stop the slides and go back to this live view. So let me share my screen. And now most of you disappear, but hopefully you can
see
my screen. Okay, good.
Looks great.
So obviously I can't tell you what computer to buy or how much to spend, but my goal is to talk about some considerations that I think would be really, really helpful as you consider what kind of gadget you're going to get. Went to Best Buy the other day, went to Walmart just to look to see what they have, and it's dizzying, if there's such a term. There's all these Apple computers, Microsoft computers, Windows, Chrome. It really is confusing to know where to begin. Hopefully, you'll get some clarification as we finish. As Judy mentioned, when I retired, we stayed in Florida for a few years where I was a teacher, a trainer, and a salesperson for this local premier partner Apple store. So it was not owned by Apple. They were the Apple stores before Apple started opening their own, but we were trained and certified by Apple themselves. My goal, though, is not to convince you to buy Apple, rest assured. I want to help you make the proper decision for you. So here's the basic questions. If you're going to boil down the issues are cost. What kind of operating system do you want? Who do you need to be compatible with? Do you have a spouse, a friend, a school? What are you going to be doing on it? There's certain things that can only be done on certain types of computers. What about your previous experience? I had somebody come into our tutoring at the Merowitz Center, and they're looking for a new computer. And she said, I know what I don't want. I don't want a Windows computer. And that was based on previous experience. So that helps guide the direction. And then finally, what about future help? If you get stuck, where are you going to go? And so that helps you to determine what are you going to purchase or not. So here's how I've divided the details regarding what you want to accomplish. So a basic user is somebody who texts, emails, surfs the web, and does what you're doing using Zoom. An intermediate user, somebody who wants to kind of go a step beyond that, is somebody who wants to keep a calendar, use the reminders, do reading on their gadget, and use social media. A little more difficult. And then an advanced computer or tablet user would be somebody who not only does all of that, but who wants to do some writing, make slides, spreadsheets, bookkeeping, pay bills. So all of those are steps to what is it that you need based on what do you do? Also, are you on the go or do you stay put? In COVID, we've pretty much stayed put. I think we've gone to Arkansas twice in the past year and a half. Otherwise, we stay put. Do you like watching movies? That will determine the size of the screen, the clarity. I enjoy watching TV shows on my iPad, for example. So you need to determine what you want to do. So initial decision, at least from my perspective, is the operating system. What kind of operating system do you want to work with? And there's basically a choice of three. There's Windows, there's Apple, and then there's Chrome. Chrome's a newbie, but Chrome is certainly an operating system. So what are the questions that go into your decision regarding the operating system? Well, what are your other gadgets? How important is it to be compatible with your other items? What's your experience? Most people that I talk to don't want to have to start learning everything new. They want to start with something that they have experience with. And then what about other people in your family? There's folks that I talk to regularly who roll their eyes and they say, my spouse, my friend, they're no help because they use such and I use this. So you have to answer all those questions. Chrome, by the way, Windows and Apple, they're operating systems that run all kinds of other apps. Chrome, in a sense, is an app. It's a browser. So with Chrome, it's a different experience. Chrome runs one thing, and that is a Chrome browser doing everything on the web, most things not so much on your local computer. So it's a different way to work. Chrome is probably nowadays the least expensive tool to purpose a Chromebook. And Chromebooks are hugely popular in school, not only because of the price, but because they can be controlled by the school itself. Windows would be the next rank in terms of cost. Apple is probably the most expensive, though with Windows and Apple at some point they get to the same ground and they're the same price. But that's pretty much the way that it's tiered. You can get a Chromebook and a Windows laptop for hundreds of dollars less than you can get something that's Apple. Now, whether that's important or not, again, is up to you. And it's funny, I copied this advertisement I saw the other day that now there's a rush towards the inexpensive. So that Microsoft has come out with this new gadget called the Surface that's targeted at the lowest end to be a competitor with Chromebook, as well as you see the inexpensive iPads. So everybody's trying to battle for your business, both at the top end and the lower end. This probably isn't very helpful, but I've detailed kind of the beginning of where some of these items start. So an iPad, you can get at about $300. Windows laptop starts at about $250. You can get a Chromebook for under $200. A MacBook Air, for example, is right at $1,000 and on it goes. So you can spend as little or as much as you want. In the Windows and Apple category, you can spend $2,000 on a desktop or a laptop easily. So let's talk about varieties. We didn't have these years ago. Question number one, in terms of your lifestyle, what do you want? Something portable, or do you want a desktop? If you want something portable, those are generally, borrowing a term now, all in one. A laptop means you have a screen and a keyboard and the computer all built into one gadget. A desktop can mean you have the screen and the computer chips all in one, but you need the extra keyboard and mouse. When it comes to portability, there's the difference between a full computer, a laptop, and a tablet. And nowadays, tablets are a big, big deal. So you have iOS, which is Apple, you have Android, Windows, and a whole variety, and it's never ending. And there's some real advantages to tablets. Most people that use a computer casually don't need a full computer. I have a friend who moved here a few years ago. His computer was at the end of its life. He needed something new. Asked me, Larry, what do I need? I said, well, if you're asking what you need, all you need, because he only texts and does email and reads, was a tablet. He saved hundreds of dollars and he's thrilled. But his wife is doing kind of research. She needed something larger. She needed a full computer. So there's several that are combos of the two. We had people who would come to Sarasota as snowbirds living up north. They would keep a computer screen, a mouse, and a keyboard in each place, north and south, but they would haul this Mac Mini back and forth. So it's a teeny little brick. It's a full computer, and that's all they took back and forth. They didn't want a laptop for some reason. They wanted a larger screen and a larger keyboard, so the Mac Mini was perfect for their traveling. Wouldn't do them any good in a hotel room, but when they got home in each place, they could hook it up to their monitor and their keyboard. Nowadays, we have not only a tablet or a computer, but we have two-in-one. So notice these pictures from left to right. You can work on your two-in-one Surface, just like a laptop, or fold it the other way, and it becomes a tablet that you can literally write on. So it's both. It has a binding that folds almost 180 degrees. So your tablet becomes a laptop computer. That seems to have become popular. I don't have a lot of experience with that other than simply playing in the store. So you can see, again, I copied a commercial, and their niche is, well, why buy two devices when you can buy one and get the two-in-one? And there's probably something to that. I have to take it with a grain of salt because it doesn't have all the ports and gadgets that a laptop would, but it has a lot. So those two-in-ones, Microsoft Surface, are fascinating. So here's the issue, or some of the issues going into how do you know what to buy? Well, number one, price. Number two, screen size. I bought a teeny little computer. While I worked for the store, I had my choice of whatever I wanted to get. So I love the idea of carrying around something really, really small. So I purchased an 11-inch MacBook Air, but that was too small for certain contexts. So I was a bit sorry I went with that. So screen size is important. Lifestyle, how much portability do you need? And then do you want a touch screen or not? One of my, one of my Windows computers is a touch screen. I'm not sure why people would want a touch screen with a computer. For a tablet, well, I get it. But why do you want to reach in at that strange angle when your mouse, in my opinion, would do a better, more accurate job? You can turn any portable into a desktop. I talked about the Mac Mini. That's what you see on the right. But you can hook up any laptop you want to an external monitor and to an external keyboard and mouse. You can close that laptop up or leave it running, and you have a full desktop computer. So you can bring your portable laptop and you can buy a 25, 30-inch screen if you want, hook it right up, and all of a sudden your laptop has become a desktop with a giant screen. So you're not stuck in what you have. There's add-ons if you're willing to pay for them. So let's talk for a minute about a tablet versus a computer. Then let me stop and take some questions. There's a sense in which a tablet, people say, is easier to use. My wife has a computer, a phone, and a tablet, and her preference is a tablet. She's on that tablet all day long. If you really need to be portable, then what's easier to carry around? A really small laptop or a tablet? So what do you want to do? Is the smaller display of a tablet going to be irritating to you? All the reading I do nowadays is on my iPad. And as I already mentioned, I watch TV on my iPad. So I find it very, very convenient. The iPad or the tablet also has the advantage of having built-in cell service if you want it. So unlike a computer, which needs Wi-Fi to get out, your tablet, you can sign up for T-Mobile, Sprint, Verizon, whatever, and always have that cell service, the ability to get out anywhere that you are. That's a tremendous advantage. And sure, with a laptop, I can let it borrow from my cellular account, from my phone account, but that uses data pretty quick. So tablets have the advantage of pretty easy to use, pretty clear how to use the apps. Smaller display though, but built-in service, but it cannot do everything. My first enjoyment gadget is my computer, my desktop. I love the big screen. I love something still and stable, though I use the others all the time. Now, let me stop just for a moment. See if you all have any questions.
Linda, do you have a question? Oh, maybe not.
Barbara
she's-
did.
And Linda's talking, but she's
Oh.
she's on. Barbara, please unmute.
Okay, I guess I'm a little confused between what you call a laptop and a computer. I have a laptop. Is that
Right.
also a computer?
That's a laptop computer. Exactly.
Laptop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. It's a full computer with amazing portability. Right.
And Marilyn, unmute yourself. And then Linda, I think you have a question. Okay.
Marilyn, you're still on mute.
Now can you hear?
Yes.
Okay. How much power can you get into a tablet?
We're going to talk about that in a moment, but if you want to pay the money, you can get a tablet that's quite powerful, big time. They have, like, for example, Apple has some of the very similar chips in their iPad, their high-end iPad, that they do in their laptops.
Some of the tablets do as well. Just because I'm familiar with that instead of the iPads, but yeah, the Windows tablets are really powerful as well.
Right, exactly.
And now Linda, I think Linda, you are next, and then Kay.
I have a touch screen 27-inch HP that's about 14 years old, and I'm having a lot of trouble with it, and I need to replace it. I also have an iPad, which is an Apple, and I have an iPhone. And I'm wondering if I would be better off getting an Apple computer. So Larry, I liked your idea of getting, I can't remember what it's called now, the portable.
The mini?
No,
No.
just the regular.
Oh, the laptop.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, the laptop, and possibly getting a large screen that I could plug it into, because I have loved working in my office on that large screen. And I don't think I want to just be tied down to a laptop.
Right. I have a 27-inch that I'm using right at the moment. I love the size of my desktop. But when we were back in Sarasota, I'd come home with my laptop, hook it right up to a big screen.
So
I like my mouse. I like my keyboard.
Right. So am I talking about a lot of expense to buy two of them like that? I mean, if I get a laptop, I want to get a decent sized screen on it.
You can get a 14-inch, 16, 17, you name it. And of course, a monitor is going to cost you 100 to 150. It's not that bad.
Okay.
And
Okay.
the computer, of course, is going to cost a lot more than that.
Right.
But yeah, I agree. I like having my workstation, my big screen, my keyboard, and my mouse.
So, but am I better off getting an iPad, a laptop that's an Apple? Since that's what
Well,
my
let's
other,
talk about that at the end.
okay,
But I mentioned compatibility as a primary concern. So yes, I think there's much to be said about staying within the same family of computers.
okay. Thank
Makes
you,
life
Larry.
easy.
Hey, I think you were next, and then Barbara, you have a question.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you are.
Oh, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. Coming out of a 17-inch MacBook Pro, what I want to know is, and it died, how much does the amount of RAM matter? How much does the amount of storage matter? And the size of the screen? I like your idea of staying within a family of iPhone, etc. And I realize you can, I thank you for explaining about the monitor and doing like an iPad or some like a laptop. But how much does it matter, and how much is it going to matter down the road if they start changing chips and going from like the iTel to the M chip, et cetera? And I don't know how technical we can get in that, but
Right.
I need it visually a larger screen. I mean, I'm sitting here on my husband's 11-inch screen and I can't see.
Right.
Thank you.
We're going to talk about RAM and storage in a bit, but the bottom line is you get as much of those as you can. And yeah, it's difficult unless you're going to be stationary and you're willing to plug it into a monitor. Again, I think you want to get the most RAM, the most storage, the biggest. In terms of chips, that's not a problem. The Intel chips are gone pretty much from Apple. The M1's there. That's in process. That'll be finished within a year. But that shouldn't concern you when it at all at this point. Well, except for the fact you don't want to get an Intel since that's outdated now. Unless you're willing, you'll see I'm going to make a confession in a few slides. To save money, I'm willing to do that. But yeah, you've got to be careful for compatibility.
That's important. That's one of the questions, because we were looking at Intel thinking, oh, they'll be cheaper and it's a larger screen and we both need them. So
Right.
thank you. If you'll touch on that.
But there are programs that Intel won't run right now that the M1 can run.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, one,
Yeah,
yeah.
touch on that if you can. Thank you.
Okay.
Barbara had one question, and then we'll move on. Barbara?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I think my question is, really, I'm a basic user. However, I do write. And some things have been, and sometimes it's for publication, but I don't consider myself, an advanced. So I don't know where to come in.
Sure.
I have a Windows 7 right now, which I've been, kind of struggling along with for
Right.
quite some time. And my husband keeps saying, get a new one, get a new one. But yeah, for the level of writing I do,
I've found that people, especially like, I don't know how well you can see me, but can you see this little gadget that I'm holding up? This is a keyboard. And this
Okay.
keyboard simply attaches to my iPad. And I gave my wife the same one that doesn't even attach. It just sits in front of it when she wants to, so that if she has to do some serious writing,
yeah.
she can still keep her tablet and use that external
I have
keyboard.
I have
Oh,
this
my.
great big keyboard.
Right.
ergonomic that I use with the Windows. It's a
But
big,
there's a lot of advanced stuff you can
Okay.
do on an iPad on a tablet. On your case, because you're coming from Windows, none of the tablets except for the Surface, the more expensive ones, are going to be in the same family, especially with Windows 7. It's so radically different than Windows 11. But so you don't at least have to worry about family compatibility. It's more, what are you comfortable with?
yeah.
And when you get a new computer, you're going to find you have a learning curve no matter what you get, even with Windows.
Okay. Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, let's get back to sharing. And even, by the way, just to go back to that one question, even with a Chromebook, I think of all the students I've seen using Chromebook, and they're writing their essays for class. You can, if we'll talk about Google Docs, but a Chromebook is also a great choice for somebody who doesn't want a tablet, who just wants to do some writing and some emailing. Okay, so again, tablet versus computer, we've talked about that. Here's what's important. Number one, RAM. That's your gadget's thinking space. That's where your computer or your tablet does its thinking. If it doesn't have enough RAM thinking space, random access memory, then it has to borrow and it slows down. Your storage space is also crucial, and that's a premium nowadays. When you look at Chromebooks, when you look at like some of the Windows computers, they're meant to store everything in the cloud, and so they don't give you much storage space. So you have to be careful. But as far as I'm concerned, and you'll see others the same way, you want as much storage space as you can afford. The chip is the computer's brain. So you heard us talk about Intel versus M1. That's something that is in the Apple world. Apple has gone to a new brain for their computers called the M1 chip. And the brain, the idea of the brain is you want the biggest brain you can get that has the smallest moving parts so it doesn't get hot. So those are the issues. And the brain and the RAM work together to do all of its thinking. Unless esoteric comments, I think you want a good camera. So for Zoom, you want something that's half decent. You don't want a grainy resolution. If you buy too inexpensive, you get grainy resolution, and your machine will be a nightmare to work on. So for example, some of you might remember the TV commercials with these two guys. I want you to notice the tablet that they're looking at. Do you see how grainy those icons are? That's what I wanted to point out. You don't want a tablet or a computer that gives you a grainy look. It will just drive you crazy. So again, get the most that you can afford. And also think about built-in speakers. You want to be able to have something that I don't know that you really want to have to rely on externals. Externals are good for a booster speakers, but you want something that's built in. So RAM, storage, chip speed, a good display, and gadgets built in. Some of you might have heard of Kim Commando. She runs a radio show all about computers. And I pulled this from her website, and this was after I came to those conclusions. She says the same thing. RAM, the hard disk type, in other words, the storage, and the processor, the brain, those are the most important. But screen size and included accessories like speakers, mouse, keyboard, those are all very, very important. I went out to make sure that I could be knowledgeable and compatible with people that I was teaching, especially the Mirowitz Center. I now own a Chromebook and a Windows laptop. And on both, I bought quite inexpensive, and I overlooked one item that I didn't think was going to be important. But my wife and I, like when I open these doors, that's my living room, and we'll sit in there at night in front of the fireplace and we'll chat and we'll each work on our gadgets. And I can't see my keyboard. It doesn't have any backlighting on the keys. So I've got to lay the screen down just a little bit so that my screen shines on my keypad and then lift it back up so that I can see. So I also think that's a important convenience if possible. Not every room that you work in has enough light to necessarily show the keyboard. And here's my confession. When I can, I purchase refurbished, I purchase used. So when I worked for the store, I of course received the Apple discount, and the items that I would purchase for the most part were the display models that people had played with. Those display models changed every 3 months. So I always had my pick of display models. Why not? Slightly used, but they still had manufacturer's full warranty. So why not, any store that you shop from, why not ask them if they have any used, refurbished, or open box? I am, for better or worse, and obviously I'm not selling anything, so I don't get any credit for anything that you do or don't do, but I'm a big believer in extended warranties. I worked in the store for enough years that every day, day in and day out, we had people who dropped their gadgets. We had people who spilled wine, coffee, orange juice. We had somebody come in and say, my computer doesn't work. I don't know why. It's under warranty. And they took it apart and there was this sticky orange stuff all over. And the tech said, so did you spill anything? I didn't know. I didn't spill anything. Well, what's this sticky stuff all over? So if you have the right warranty, that sticky stuff is indeed covered. So I love my extended warranties. And even with Apple Care, when I bought my first Apple computer, which was in 2008, I was a Windows user, a militant Windows user, until what's called Vista came out, and that ruined our office. So that's when I switched to a Mac. And when I switched, I was working and I didn't have time to learn. Apple Care gives you a phone number that you can call and say, how do I do this? How do I do that? I used Apple Care several times a day and it was wonderful. Besides the fact that they take care of breakage, etc. I noticed Best Buy, this guy that I talked into buying a tablet, Best Buy, there was something 2 items he needed to fix at home having to deal with printers. I tried, I couldn't help him. And so I did some research and found out that Best Buy has a great warranty. So Best Buy came in, he bought their warranty and fixed both of their computers, taking a little over an hour. I was quite impressed. I did not used to be a fan of Best Buy. Not only were they competition to our store, but most of them were not Apple trained. But nowadays they're training their technicians, so it's much more impressive. I love waiting for sales. I watch for sales. I already told you I get used in open box. But if you watch, doesn't matter, Windows, Apple, there's always sales going on, it seems like, somewhere. Nowadays, it's New Year's. Okay, let me stop sharing and go back to questions.
Bobby, you want to unmute yourself?
So Larry, is now the time to ask the differences between purchasing a MacBook Air and a MacBook Pro?
Sure. The MacBook Air is a wonderful entry-level machine that is quite powerful. I love my MacBook Air. And for most people, that's probably good enough. The reason I bought a MacBook Pro is that I needed to do other things with it. I needed to hook up external monitors. I needed to hook up a projector to it. So there were other things that I needed to do that required more power and more memory, more storage.
Can you hook up the larger monitor to the MacBook Air?
You sure can.
Okay.
You sure can. Yes, like I said, I love the Air for its lightness and its ease of portability.
What about dependability? Will it last as long as a Pro?
Absolutely. In terms of the dependability, yes, it will last as long. The chips are never quite as powerful, so it won't last in terms of power. It will eventually outlive itself, but my MacBook Air, my 11-inch, is at 7 or 8 years old now, and it's still running just fine.
Yeah. When is it time to just say it's dead? Like my MacBook Pro is about almost 14 years old, and I don't even use it anymore.
When it won't upgrade, when it won't run your programs, it's time. And
Yeah.
with whether it's Windows or whether it's Apple, there comes a point at which the operating system is no longer updated, and that puts you at risk. If you
Okay.
can't have the latest updates,
Mhm.
even within your operating system, like I don't think Windows 7 is updating any longer.
Yeah.
So that puts the Windows 7 user at risk for security, potentially.
Okay. That's my question.
Linda has another question.
Yes, Larry, people talk about going to Costco to buy their computers. Do you have any thoughts about Costco versus Best Buy?
Well, Costco and Sam's, I put kind of, forgive me, in the same category.
It's
And
okay.
if you know what you want, then why not? I don't put them in the same category. They do not have on staff Apple or Microsoft trained people that are there to answer the more techie questions. They can all
Okay.
say, sure, how much RAM, how much storage, how fast is this compared to that? But when it comes to, can I do this in this way on that computer? I don't believe that they're trained. So
Okay.
I personally, I use big box, but only if you mean a store where people are trained.
Okay. I bought my HP at Best Buy 14, 15 years ago.
Mhm.
And so probably that's what I'm going to do is go back there.
Right. I bought my Chromebook at Best Buy. And as I mentioned, 10 years ago, I swore I was never going to go to Best Buy again for that. But the guy was super helpful. He was super knowledgeable. And that's, to me, service is more important than the actual product. I want somebody who can talk to me, help me face to face if I need to. And I was very, very pleased.
Okay, thank you.
I'm not seeing any more at the moment.
Judy, I
Oh,
see
wait a
Marilyn.
minute. Marilyn, go ahead. I'm sorry.
On a tablet, can you hook up a CD-ROM extension and also a mouse and a monitor?
Yes, I would hold my DVD extension up for you, my little gadget. But yes, mine, for example, that I bought is USB-A nowadays. And so that can be plugged into most computers. Worst case scenario, you get a little USB-A to USB-C adapter. But yes, they can be hooked up to almost any computer as long as it has ports. So, and nowadays, I think they all still have ports.
Okay,
Thank you.
you need to unmute.
Okay, you need to
I know.
unmute.
There I
yeah.
go. I got one question. You mentioned the M chip, the Intel chip, and something about programs not being able to run, possibly, and also the variable of heat. Does one run hotter than another? If you were going for, let's say, a 16-inch Pro, would it be advisable to go to the M chip rather than the Intel chip, even though it seems the number of ports are not the same, et cetera?
Let me talk about the heat for a moment for everybody. When I'm out here on one of my laptops, I like working on a pillow because I don't want to have to bend down and then get a sore neck. So I prop it up on a pillow, and you've got to be so careful. The fluffier, the worse, because of heat dissipation. It stores the heat inside that computer, and computers do not like heat. So that's my first comment about heat. You want to make sure to keep the area ventilated. Number two, the M1 chip is supposed to be cooler, run cooler. So yes, that's an advantage to any of the later chips are going to run cooler. And think about it, folks, like I have a chip on my watch, chip on a tablet. Those chips are designed to run cooler and cooler over the generations. In terms of compatibility, it probably will not affect most end users. Some people, for example, like to run Windows on their Macs, and there's parallels software. It doesn't cross over the Intel chip versus the Mac chip. So there's some programs that are not yet updated enough to run on the newer Macs, but when I do my reading, it's hardly any. But that's a warning that has to be given. But like I said, unless you're into saving money, which is always nice, you want to get the latest chips you can. Sorry, you're on mute again. Okay, you're back on mute.
Okay, you don't know how to unmute? You're on. Larry, help her.
There she is.
On this
There we go.
laptop, I only know how to use the larger with this mouse. I even forgot my question. You were talking. Oh, please forgive me. If your choice is to keep the cost down, get as much RAM and as much storage as possible, are you better off getting the Intel chip, dealing with the crossover of?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. Good. Okay, somebody mute me now. I can't do it.
The Intel chips will be fine
They'll be fine.
for years.
I still won't be able to run old Photoshop programs, any of that stuff that's old, because I had to wipe my entire operating system. It was
Oh.
terrible.
Okay, well,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
okay.
Please mute me.
Other questions?
Help me, please. Oh, look. It's a computer.
Who says we can't be entertained on Zoom?
I know.
Or with computers.
Wait.
Oh,
Uh,
Okay.
no, I'm not seeing any more at the moment. Any additional questions? So do we have any more questions, or do you have a?
Yeah, I have a
Oh,
question.
okay. All
So
right.
Larry, you used to work at the Apple store. You mean you could go to the store and ask if they have any refurbished or used models?
Oh, you bet.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
You bet.
They don't like
Sometimes
to advertise it.
No.
they actually have a whole section on their website that's used and refurbished. But yes, and there's the difference between refurbished, which is used, and open box.
What's the difference?
Refurbished means it's an older computer probably that's been traded in. They've wiped it out, reinstalled it, made sure the parts are as shiny and new looking as you can. Whereas open box has been taken home, yes, used for I guess it could be up to 2 weeks in some cases, and then brought back.
Got
So
it.
they didn't have to do any adjusting for age.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
I think that's it for the moment. Do you have some more slides you need to go through?
I don't, unless you wanted me
Okay.
to expand on some.
Well, does anybody have anything that they would like additional? Yeah, Kay. And then Yvonne, you have to unmute.
Thank you. One quick question. On the top of the apples, in the top keys, where escape and all of the other keys at the function keys at the top, I noticed that some of them had done away with the interior keys and it was now a touch bar. It seems from what I was told, we were told that they were going to go back to keys rather
are.
than a touch bar.
They have
Are
done
there
that.
problems with the touch bar that you know of?
There's always those few that really liked it, but for the most part, it was too strange, unneeded, unliked. Too many complaints.
Okay,
So yeah, we've gone back to the normal keys at the top.
okay. Technologically though, they weren't having any trouble. It was just people didn't like it.
Correct.
Good, like
As far
bringing
as-
back
right.
the bar, yeah, thank you.
Right. By the way, one of the comment just about a tablet, I would, my sister, for example, has a mini tablet. She loves it. But boy, there's something about having a little bit larger, not a giant one, but a little bit larger is really nice. If I had my choice between doing my work on a paperback book or a hardback book, I'd choose hardback every time. That's about the size of the tablet. Now you can get really large, like a spiral, larger than a spiral for schooling and all that. But yeah, if you're going to get a tablet, I wouldn't get the small one. I'd get the medium-sized one.
Oh, Barbara?
Yeah, I know there's a learning curve, and my tendency probably would be go to Windows, because my husband uses Windows and he
There you
can
go.
help me some, but he's not super techie either. So I'm wondering, is it a huge, big learning curve? Would it be the learning curve, whatever level I got, or?
It's really kind of interesting having played with Chrome and Windows 11 pretty extensively the last couple of weeks. I found them both very similar. The Chrome operating system acts a lot like, or I should say looks like, Windows 11. It's different. But no, I have found there's teeny little differences between 7 and 11, but I don't think the learning curve is great. It's just going to be there. But
And
no,
did
it's
they-
nothing radical.
Do they help you at all with that? I mean, or do you just read their book and hope you can get it?
That's where purchase location makes a big difference. I took out my slide that talked about, do I buy local? Do I buy
Right.
by email? Generally would never buy email because I want to develop a relationship with somebody locally that I can go to for help. Like I said, service to me is more important than the actual product.
Mm.
And I have found, like there's several folks, IntelliShark or something like that will help people locally. They used to have one right around the corner from where I live in Chesterfield. Now it's on Manchester. I noticed there's a Jeff's Computers somewhere. All of those, but even Best Buy, you bring yours in and I think they give you the time of day. So I think that's really important. Google helps, but when you're in the midst of having a problem, you don't want to go to, most people don't want to look up Google.
And
Thank you.
Yvonne, and then Marilyn Yvonne first, and then Marilyn has a question.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry. This is excellent presentation. I just wondered if, are you available for one-on-one through the Merrick Center?
Susan, wait, what's going on with Susan over there?
You can unmute yourself and talk.
I just got very excited by that question.
Yeah.
And the answer to that is yes, we have the Tech Tutor program. Bobby has given the thumbs up. Marilyn has been a learner here.
Linda?
And I think everybody here is a fan of Larry's. If you haven't already had a one-on-one session with him, you're a fan of his just by having listened to him speak today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You can call me. We can set you up with a one-on-one session. They're in half-hour increments. So you can do a half hour. You can do an hour if you think that that's what you need. I wouldn't do more than an hour at one time, just
Right.
because nobody wants to fry their brain with all this stuff. So I'm gonna put my phone number in the chat. I would give you my email address, but my last name is really difficult to spell and just as hard to pronounce. But so you can give me a call. I'm happy to work with anybody to set you up with a private tutoring session.
Thank you very much. Thank
So
you.
yeah, so at this point,
A second tutor, Jim, who is phenomenal as well. You can't go wrong with either one of them. So just let me know.
so Jim and I plant ourselves there every Monday. And we're available through Susan.
Now, Marilyn, you had a question still and you need to unmute.
I'm muted now. Okay.
Yes.
I was wondering what computer is the best for, let's say, if you want to do recordings and maybe go on social media or YouTube, and also the computer best for artwork.
Well, nowadays, the distinction has gotten less and less. If you were to ask somebody 10 years ago, there would be no discussion. It's anybody who's doing anything that has to do with art, which means vocal art, fine arts, you name it, that's the Apple computer. They have programs that nobody else did. I tutor somebody by phone, and he really wasn't getting it. So real quickly on my Mac, I made a video, loaded it up to YouTube, and off it went so that he could see visually at his own time and convenience. But again, Windows now has tools the same way. It's just classically, so I'm answering this classically, Mac was for art, Windows for work. But that distinction is not as strong any longer. There's plenty of business organizations that use Apple. There's plenty of places that have to do with the arts that use Windows. Windows Paint is considered a classic program.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hey.
Just one.
You're on mute. Barry, you're on mute. Okay, there you go.
Thank you.
I will be glad to tutor you in the Merowitz Center on the fine use of Zoom.
Yeah, we could use it. My question is about Chrome. Is it owned by Microsoft?
Chrome is Google.
Oh, it's Google.
So let me tell you 30 seconds about Chrome. You've heard of the Chrome browser, maybe?
Absolutely.
That's what the operating system is. It's actually a browser. So anything you do, you're doing in a browser. So for example, if you're going to write, you're going to go to Google Docs, you're going to use Google Write or Google Slides or Google Sheets and do everything based on Google. So yes, it's literally a Chrome browser that is the operating system.
Got it. Okay,
So
thank
you log into everything.
Appreciate it.
No, don't unmute. I have a question. Would it be advisable, since they've totally wiped and everything is supposedly back on the MacBook Pro. I don't trust it. I think it's going to, it probably has two of RAM. Would it be advisable to just use it as extra storage for data and
Absolutely.
photographs and
A backup.
everything else as a good, because I don't trust the cloud. Who knows where it is? It could be, you know, who knows? And when it starts to rain and snow, we'll never see it. I just don't trust it. So that's not a bad idea. And then go to something else, even if it's the Intel chip.
Sure, not only is it backup storage, but make it your record player, your music player.
Yeah.
Just let it sit there and play music all day or whatever you want.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I had an very old phone, and I used that phone as a backup in terms of storage of certain
Yes.
things.
Larry, no one's mentioned, do people still use external drive, for storage, external drives?
Not only do they should.
It should.
Any computer that you use, you should have, in my opinion, a local, and forgive me if you trusted, a cloud backup. So before there was the cloud, I had 3 or 4 storage local hard disk drives that I would rotate as backups, and I would put them in different locations. In Florida, hurricane season can wipe everything out. So I had a direct hit to the house once, and it fried one of my hard disks. So yes, constantly rotating in theory, and you do want that.
And before we all close, I just want to thank Kay for the humor. Thanks for the laughs.
And by the way, even if you don't
Bobby
have,
was muted, but I think we could all hear the belly laugh virtually.
exactly,
Seeing his body shake and shimmer laughing.
exactly. Back to the storage, is one of the comment. Not only maybe do you want to get the bigger hard disk drives, but these little flash drives, you can get them with a lot of memory, and they are quite stable. So your photos, your whatever is real valuable, you can use one of these instead of a hard drive. It's just, yeah.
Actually, Larry, to piggyback on what you're saying, we have all of our photos saved to a flash drive, and we have it in something we can take out of the house if there's a fire, something in an emergency, because, you know, that's what's, along with our important documents and everything else that we would want to save in an emergency.
Right. And from my perspective, that's where my important documents are. So I go the extra mile and give one to my brother.
Wow, that's a good idea to give one to someone else too.
Right.
And there was one question early on, I don't remember who it was from, but someone asked if they could have a copy of your PowerPoint, because there's a lot of, was it you, Marilyn? I'm not sure. I think so. Anyway.
It was me, Yvonne.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anyway, just because there's so much information on there, and it would be easy to refer back to it if they had a copy. Is that, are you agreeable with that, or?
Sure. Let me do this. It is perfectly legal in an educational setting to use copyrighted photos. So I just went to Google Images and use them. It crosses that legal line if I were to publish those or to give it out. So let me do this. Let me clean up the document, and then I'll send it to you, Judy,
Okay.
with the copyrights all perfect.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. Well, this is also, so everyone knows, it is recorded, and it will be on our website. And when I do process it, if there's anything copyright protected, it will put that in, it'll take it out of that particular part of the video.
And are you going
automatically.
to, are you going to distribute the URLs that I gave you?
I will. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I gave her 2 articles. I gave Judy 2 articles that I thought were really well done. And so she's going to
send
email
those to
you.
everyone. Yeah. Yeah. So they're like articles with additional information over and above what Larry talked about. And I'm sure you can contact Larry or contact Susan to meet with Larry. at a future date if you have further questions. Thank you,
And-
Larry. This was absolutely wonderful.
And
Thank you.
Larry is such a wealth of knowledge. I'm sure we will have Larry back if he will come back and treat us all to another discussion.
And any emails, Judy or Susan, that they write that you want to direct to me, that's fine.
Okay, sounds great.
Fantastic. We are having our next Tech Tutor program on January 26th at 10 a.m. That one is on internet safety. And if you all are interested in learning about that and want to get the Zoom link, please let Judy or let me know, and we will make sure you get that information.
Susan, sign me up.
You got it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, everyone,
Thank
for
you.
being here. It was wonderful, Larry. We really appreciate everything that you shared today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.